Welcome to hashtag 52 Needs, and this week we're talking about self-expression. And I have with me Darren Saul, who is a photographer who started heavily utilizing social media and podcasts to build his business. And he was so amazed with the results, he never looked back. And I'm really glad about that because he's doing some amazing work. He is now a very active social media marketing practitioner and podcaster who consults with organizations to help them get serious business results, integrating social media and podcasting into their marketing strategy. And as he says, it's not a, what do you say? Social media is not a,
it's not a nice to have, it's a must have.
Yes. Okay. Now talking about that, if you don't run a business, and let's talk about the regular person, the person who just posts on Instagram and Facebook and maybe on LinkedIn every now and then or a few times a day, do they really need social media?
Now that is an exceptional question. Like when you think about it, when I look at what happens on social media, because I'm always studying the activity on social media, and I look particularly at the people that aren't doing it for marketing purposes like us, but they're doing it just because they have a need to express themselves. You know, and I think the answer to your question is absolutely. Like they need social media. It's their vehicle to allow them to express themselves, connect with their friends and family, connect with people overseas that they might not have seen for a while. And even just, you know, a way for them to vent and express their daily struggles and also wins in life every day. So I think it is something that people need.
But I think sometimes we take it a little bit too far. When I go to a restaurant and I see 4 people sitting at a table and their self-expression is by texting each other and then commenting when the head lifts, and I go, oh, right, that's a good one. And then going back.
Absolutely. I agree with you. I mean, again, who are we to judge? That's the new generation. It's the new way to live. It's the new culture. But certainly for our generation, we think that's a bit strange. But, you know, again, if that's how it's going to be, and it probably will change even further, it will continue to evolve. Who are we to judge?
The only concern I have is that there are trends sometimes. Again, when we talk about self-expression, they are not necessarily the real people who show up. I watched a movie the other day. It was called Flight Mode.
Oh, okay.
And it was a South American movie about this influencer who lost all her followers for one reason or another and had to go into a place where there was no internet. She was not allowed to go on. And it was like she had withdrawal symptoms.
Oh, it was like she was put in a prison cell probably.
Absolutely. And it was really interesting to see. It was a South American movie that I really enjoyed. I can highly recommend this to anybody, everyone. But there's this whole, you have to look a certain way. You have to be a certain way. And, you know, and it's not, and this is what was the funny thing in this movie. She created these things where she would go into the bathroom and it would take her 20 minutes to get ready. Then she would crawl into bed and she would lift her phone and say, hello, everybody. I just woke up.
Fantastic. I agree with you. I mean, like as a lot of the time these days, we are able to build trust and credibility with our audience much more effectively if we show them who we really are. Because there's so much noise out there. There's so much activity. People are desperate to find out what's behind the facade or what's behind the scenes. Who are you really? Because people are craving connection.
Yes.
And that's another reason why we use social media so much, because we're craving connection, particularly in this time. So if we can show people who we are behind what we do and how we do it, I think that's what really allows us to build trust, credibility with our audience, whether it's from a marketing business point of view or even just a friendship point of view.
Yeah. Well, I have to say that there are certain things that I used to have a private Facebook page until everybody started connecting with me on that. So it's now a mix of personal and professional. And there are a lot of things that I don't share because they are private. I'm actually a very private person.
Me too.
And so I have I have things that I share in messages, and I pick up the phone and I talk to people.
Absolutely. I send an email or an SMS
or my FaceTime or not probably WhatsApp, not so much anymore, but you know, there's still enough apps to do that. And the self-expression that I have there is, yes, it's me right now, but there are certain things that I will not talk about.
I agree.
with people that I don't know. I mean, I really enjoy talking with you, but I don't know you that well that I'm going to start sharing my deepest, darkest secrets with you.
Sure. And I'm the same. Like, I'm also a very
People do
private
that.
person. Yeah.
On Facebook, they start talking about stuff where I go, whoa, TMI, really,
Yep.
let's just pare it back a little bit.
Yep.
So self-expression, I mean, what do we actually think self-expression means these days? What do you think?
It's true. Like, for me, when I hear the word self-expression, for me, it comes down to the need to express whatever it is I need to express. The need that I need to share something with the world because that's authentic to me. But again, you know, so as you say, some people can actually put on a whole show or put on a facade to express something that's actually not that authentic.
Yeah. And that comes, for me, self-expression also includes the way I dress.
Yep.
You know, for example.
100%. The way I talk, the
Yeah.
way I move, everything.
Yes.
And it's just got to be free.
Yeah.
Right?
And again, the more people direct themselves towards social media and look at examples of what they should be like, the harder it's actually going to be to have self-expression. It's almost like an other expression.
It's true.
Right?
And that's a double-edged sword. You're right, because, you know, and the media's, you know, been, I'll just put the word guilty in inverted commas. The media's been guilty of that for many years, even before social media, in that it gave us an idea or an expectation of how we should look, how we should dress, how we should talk, etc., etc. Social media is nothing new. It's nothing different to that, really. So it can
like
be
women magazines on steroids, basically.
exactly.
You know,
100%.
like they say, if you want really bad self-esteem, read a women magazine.
Yeah, it's the same thing. So I think people have to. It's a double-edged sword. You have to realize that social media is there for you to express yourself in an authentic way, but you can also fall into the trap of thinking that you have to fit in because you're so bombarded with certain messages all day long. So you have to be strong in a way to not fall into the trap of succumbing to that kind of pressure.
And at the same time, there's also the risk of oversharing and maybe saying some things that in terms of self-expression, something of things you might say to yourself, maybe you shouldn't be sharing with people.
Agree.
I mean,
Agree.
People forget that once it's out there, it's out there.
Yeah. Like I tend to say to myself, if I'm going to put something on social media, I like to say, is this really going to be of value to anybody else? If it's not, why am I putting it up there? Otherwise, I just can write it down on a piece of paper, write a diary, whatever, speak to someone one-on-one, and, you know, that's it. But if you're going to share it with the world, make sure that it's got some kind of significance or value. Otherwise, why are you doing it?
Exactly. And the other thing is, will I look back at it in a few years' time when the memory comes up and says, here's your memory? Exactly. Will I be able to look back at that and go, say, yeah, that's good. I can look at that. Or will I go, oh my God, I wrote that?
Yeah.
That's what I shared? Oh, how terrible.
Yeah, it's so true, because it's almost like social media is becoming like a diary. Like other people might have taken a diary and used that to write something down, and that was how they vented. Some people now will do that on social media, but either realizing or not realizing that they've just shared that with God knows how many people.
Yes.
You know, which might not be the best way to do things sometimes.
No. Okay. So we add value to people, and I mean, sometimes humor can be adding value as well. I mean,
Definitely.
I like sharing occasionally. I generally do that in messages because sometimes humor can backfire as well. You know, if somebody finds it really funny and somebody doesn't. And didn't we just have an example? I mean, there's sometimes examples of people who post something they think is really funny and it backfires completely.
Yeah.
Like really badly.
Yeah.
But it's about, again, what's your intention? What are you putting it out for? And be really clear on that, and not just go, oh, I think I'll share that. Yeah. Or I haven't been on social media for 10 minutes. I think I'll share myself.
Yeah. And you brought up a really good point. Like for the example of sharing a joke that might not have been that funny, but if that person really wanted to share that joke, it was something that they wanted to share with the world because they thought it was great and they thought it would give value to some other people in terms of entertainment or humor, or just lighten up their day or help somebody, then they should share it. And whether or not it gets well received or not makes no difference, because their intent was to share it authentically, and they have to, at the same time, then deal with the fact that it might not have been engaged with as much as they thought it would have, but that's okay. So that's
Sometimes
the
that can really backfire, Darren. I don't know if you remember Pete Evans, who shared a joke, and that went so bad he lost all of his business. I mean, he could basically
aha.
put his life
I
into a
wow.
box.
I can't. I'm not aware of the situation, but I suppose you have to still think about the repercussions of what you're
Yeah.
doing. If they have a certain, if they're going to have certain repercussions on your life or your work, of
Yeah.
course, absolutely.
Yes. No, he was basically, as they say, he could kiss his business goodbye.
Wow,
He
just
lost
from
all of his
sharing something.
endorsements, his TV show, everything.
Oh boy, that's great. That's a
Yeah.
shame. Wow.
But
Yeah.
again, it's about being really careful about how you present yourself, and when you put something on there that out there that is controversial, that you think expresses yourself. Yeah, maybe some things you just have a closed friends group.
Yep.
Open up one of those and share it there.
Definitely.
Don't do it make it a public one where you go, this is me, warts and all, and these are my beliefs.
Yep. I totally agree with you. Like I'm always thinking, I'm a marketer and a brander. I'm always thinking from a marketing and branding point of view. Like I will always triple critique in my head everything I'm about to do to make sure that it's in line with my brand, both personally and professionally.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to put something out there that I think is going to backfire on me, even if it is authentic.
Yeah.
We can hold that for a close group of friends or family.
Yeah.
100%. Like you still got to remember that you're on a platform with potentially God knows how many thousands or hundreds of thousands of viewers in an audience. You got to be careful what you're doing. It has consequences.
Yeah. And again, it's about also on the consumer side. It's not just as the contributor, but on the consumer side, take whatever comes out there with a grain of salt, because whatever somebody is saying may not necessarily be who they really are, or reflect what they stand for. And my thing is, and this is what I'm concerned about for the younger generation, there are some really, really bad trends out there.
Yep.
And then self-expression becomes really warped. We talked about this earlier, about the trend where girls put an A4 sheet in front of their waist.
Wow.
It's not landscape, but a portrait.
Yeah.
And if there was anything showing on the side, that meant they were too fat. So girls would start dieting, and they would really hunger themselves down. And it was like, there's certain things where I'd say you can take self-expression to a whole new level that is probably going to be really damaging. So it's common sense.
I agree. And that, in a way, that's even the antithesis of self-expression, because you're trying to fit everybody into the same mold.
Yeah.
That's the lack of self-expression. If you are slightly bigger than an A4, enjoy it. Great.
Yes.
If you're a bit smaller, no problem. I mean,
Absolutely.
why should we all look the same and fit the same mold?
Yeah, but we have all of these glorified examples in on social media, and
Yep.
I think we need to actually teach people that social media is something for self-expression, as in who you are, and again with a framework around it, put some boundaries around it, and it's for connecting as well, not just for, and I dare to say that, narcissistic self-expression.
Yeah, it's called a social network. It's for connecting with others.
Yes.
Otherwise, just write an entry in Dear Diary and put it away for the night. Nobody needs to see it.
Yeah.
That's so as I say, there's like whatever I'm going to do on social media, I think to myself, what are the consequences and what value am I providing by posting this to the world? If I'm giving somebody something, great. But if I'm not, maybe I won't.
Yeah. Wonderful. So thank you so much, Darren. And
thank you very much, Angela. Thanks for having me.
that was wonderful. And we'll continue this conversation, I'm sure.
Can't wait.
And next time I will watch you, because you are one. I remember the interview we did last year. That was one of my favorite experiences.
Well, we should do another one. Let's do another one. I think we'll do another show.
I'm really thrilled that you were here today, because this is, for the apprentice to do this with a master is, a real honor. Thank you so much.
I appreciate that. Thank you so much, Angela.
So thanks everybody for watching, and I'll see you next week for the next installment.
Awesome. Bye, guys.
Bye.